Welcome to our Zines workshop. We join Lucy Kagan wearing a button-up shirt that evokes all the comfort of tea with cherry blossoms, tea whisks, and of course, tea leaves. She leads this workshop from the comfort of her office, surrounded by shelves of books, art supplies, and a little pilea plant behind her. Take it away, Lucy.
Hey, hi GGC. This is Lucy Kagan, and I am hosting the zine workshop for today. You might have seen my article that I did for Geek Girl Con's blog about how to express yourself through zines, and if you enjoy this class, I highly recommend you check it out, and you can send it to your friends, get everybody making zines. But yeah, let's get started. So I make a lot of zines. I've made a lot of zines. There are definitely people who have made more, but I've been making zines for the past 5 years, usually just like one zine a year with the exception of last year where I made 2, and I have really enjoyed collecting zines from other people whenever I go to conventions. Since I'm on the East Coast, Small Press Expo is like my favorite place to go to pick up new zines, and also locally here in North Carolina, we have Durham Zine Fest, and I just went to that last year for the first time. I'm sad it won't be happening this year, but maybe next year, and maybe next year I can actually come to GGC, so that would be great. My zines have mostly been focused on like making it this very produced mini magazine, but zines can be so many different things. They don't have to be, actually that's what's so great about them is like anyone can make one of these, anyone can make a zine using just like plain paper, a photocopier at the library or something, and whatever tools you have on hand. You can even collage it, and so I'm going to show you a few examples of zines that I've collected, but I have to admit there's a big gap in my collection. I used to go to Blue Stockings bookstore in New York City, and I still highly recommend that you go on their website because they have such an amazing curated selection, but COVID unfortunately has combined with bad rent prices to have them shut down in their physical location. So I'm very sad about that because they used to have an amazing zine selection. Anybody could go in and just bring their zines and talk to the zine coordinator about consigning those, and there was such a good selection of like all types of zines. Like my zine was there, but there was also poetry zines and photography zines and like activism and informative zines. So that's something that I don't really have here, is so much of like the poetry and photography ones, but I have some things like it, so I'm excited to show you those. But you can check out with your local bookstore and see if they do anything like that, like zine consignment. Some of you might have come here out of pure curiosity and you're like, what the heck is a zine? Zine is short for magazine, so with that shortened name we kind of get a clue for what it means. It's like a mini magazine. It's a self-published publication of any sort. There's so much open for what a zine could be, like I started to describe, and so it can just be something photocopied and stapled together. It can be something sent to an actual printer and like nicely done, or done by yourself very nicely. There's some excellent bookbinders out there, and it's a really fun skill to learn. But also the one definition kind of is that it is small press, so it's usually 1,000 copies or less. Everybody's gonna have like their own little threshold for what is small press and what is not, but I think most people can agree at least under 1,000 copies. But that's not always even true. It's a means of skirting the publication gatekeepers, the people who have the means to produce huge amounts of books, but we don't have access to that. So we can still publish our own ideas and our own books without having to go through them. And that's why it's been such a good tool over the years for marginalized groups to get their voices out and get their voices heard, because otherwise it would be a lot harder for them to go through those traditional means that don't always approve of what they have to say. And for, thousands of years, people have been printing their own pamphlets to get their, their voices out there when they can't go through a publisher. But in the past 100 years or so, that's when we got zines actually coming into their own and becoming a term that we hear. It was the 1940s that the earliest recorded use of the word is found, and that seems like a long time ago for something like this, where we think of it as using a lot more modern techniques. But there were the Dadaists who published their own zines and gave it that kind of Dada look to it, all the collage and everything. And there were also sci-fi fans and speculative fiction fans who made zines about that, and that's always been going on. We've always had these great speculative fiction fans who just make incredible things and are very forward thinking. So that's kind of the nature of the genre, I guess. And then into the 60s and 70s, we had a ton of feminist writing and zines coming out, and really thoughtful and provocative for the time, and even for now to some degree, stuff. And and then the sci-fi people were always there too. And then what you guys might know zines from most of all is the Riot Girl scene in the 90s, where everything was very DIY and collaged together, a lot of that kind of punk aesthetic put into it. There was that. And then another way you might know it is now, where artists, independent artists, people on Tumblr and Instagram and wherever, they get together and put together fanzines of some of their favorite work. So I've seen an Adventure Zone fanzine that was huge, very, very popular, very thick, going around, versus maybe a Nick Cage fanzine, which is very, very DIY in its assemblage. So there are that kind of brings us up to speed with what we have in the modern day, and it's all those things. A lot of the stuff from the past, people are still very influenced with that and making these zines. And then there's also the new illustration focused ones. There are everything in between. There's everything in between. There's all kinds of fun stuff that people put into these. So, for example, when I started my first zine, this was it. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it first. So, for those who haven't seen my work before, then I put together this zine with the idea of I want lifestyle blog content with things you can do, DIY recipes, beautiful lifestyle images, and yeah, just really inspirational postings on blogs and everything. And then I also wanted it to have magic in it, it's something that Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service would read. And for a couple of years, I was oh, somebody should make this. And I was kind of a creative slump in my own work because I was focusing so much on, work stuff that I did for a living. And so finally I was I need to make something, because I'm tired of, saying I'm an artist and then not actually having anything to show for it. So I decided to put this together. I was inspired by my coworker who was getting like her wedding invitations and things like that put together, and went to this printer, and she got to like tour the print place and everything, and that she said the prices were really reasonable but the quality was incredible, and I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. So I put together my mini Witches Lifestyle magazine, and this was it. This is Hazel. It's on like this really nice paper, and people were like afraid to open it because the cover is really thick and so it doesn't bend super well, and so I maybe made it too high quality, but I learned a lot on this one. This is only like 26 pages including cover, I think, and it's still like, I was amazed that I was able to make 26 pages worth of content. So I have all my writing and illustration, like doing a whole feature about like what witches wear, kind of like you'd see in a magazine where it's like inspiration for a good outfit, and then just like a little illustration study where it's showing my ideas for modern witch lifestyle, and all kinds of other things, guide to drying herbs, a little simple syrup infusion recipe, and that's kind of like what makes up the rest of this book. So I had a lot of fun putting this together, and this is like, yeah, one of the more higher produced ends of the spectrum, but I'm going to show you some other great zines that I have a pile of. So I will switch away from my messy background here soon. But yeah, I've been making that one for the past 5 years, and this was the last year of Hazel. I have to take a break from it because it's so much work. It's blown completely out of proportion. I ended up recruiting a bunch of friends to like contribute their stuff too. Actually, they had come to me, one or two people had said, oh, if you publish another volume of this, then I would love to put like my crochet in there, a little DIY for that, and I'd love to put my artwork in there. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to make more of these, and I can't say no to people, so I ended up with thicker and thicker books each year. And so this is my proof copy, and I'm really excited about it. I still have to do a little looking over for this, but this is, I'm so excited about this. This, as you can see, we changed the paper to be an off-white color. You might not actually be able to see it because of the camera, but it's off-white. That got changed in like volume 3 and issue 3, and then also the cover stock is not as thick as it used to be, so people don't worry about like opening the book and damaging it anymore, which is really preventing them from picking it up at conventions. But like, we have just so much incredible work in here. I always want to have like lots and lots of comics in there, and this year is no different. It's gorgeous. This is by an artist who goes by Pinceau Arc-en-Ciel, and yeah, I always do the covers for them. I've had a lot of fun with these. But the more DIY looking one, I also got this printed professionally, but this one I could have done myself, and I thought about doing myself, is Plant Life, and this is all my feelings about plants. It's not all my feelings about them, but this, you can just probably tell looking at the interior, and I'll flip it around. I learned a lot doing Hazel up until this point, and this was after I had done 3 issues, and I was right about to do the 4th one, and so like my layouts were a big focus of my work on this one. I really was trying to get like more interesting magazine kind of spreads, and I don't know, I had a really good time on it. So yeah. Well, without further ado, let's get into let's get into showing you some zines, and then we can talk about how you can make your own. So I'm gonna switch views here. There we go. So I hope this focuses at some point. So I pulled these out from my mini comics box. I generally just keep everything I get at conventions together, I guess. And there's just so much good stuff in here. I found a lot of fun things over the years, and there's like every type of topic in here. It's just fantastic. So I'm going to show you what I have here, just so you can get an idea of like all the possibilities open to you. So this one is so cool. They put this like little DIY sleeve together here, and then it pops out, and we have this whole accordion style zine of different pollinating plants in North America. And it even like goes at different angles. It's not just straight across. It's a very cool way to put this together. So I guess right off the bat, I'm showing you guys one of the many fun options for how to arrange these things, because yeah, there's just no end to what you can do with like book design and stuff. It's really neat. Yeah, look at that. And all these good sources. Lovely. Love to see some sources. This little slip is just like stapled together, so you wouldn't think that it's gonna be so cool, but it really is. I love this idea, and it does the trick. Like, it doesn't need to be fancy. It works. So all the information, you got it. So yeah, in that same vein of like North American native plants, this is by Leanne Thug, I believe. She is an incredible artist, and I'm so glad I found her work. And she just has like this whole series of beautiful little illustrations and scientific names, as well as the common names. And now this one is interesting because in contrast to something like this, which is staple bound in a saddle stitch kind of style, hers is actually saddle stitched, or it's stitched using like a really simple but really effective way. And I highly recommend that you guys try out something like that, because it can look really nice, and it makes your book a little extra special. This one, yeah, is more of that fun photocopier method where it's just stapled on the sides, and obviously, you know, the page orientation was a little awkward because this got moved so far up and there's stuff getting cut off, but you still get to see all the important stuff, and it's just like super cheerful and joyful and fun, and I love this team KK that put this together. They did such a good job. So this is, yeah, just like fun colored paper for the cover, and all these little cocktail recipes with like really great illustrations going along with it. So highly recommend. I'm just recommending this zine at this point, but this is a great way to put together your stuff. And this is all illustrated by them and everything, but you could also use collage elements, or your friend's artwork if you work with a friend on it. This person did this beautiful cyanotype printing for hers. This is just incredible, and it's like some really fun speckled paper with like a textured art paper on the inside, and like this typeface is really beautiful to me. It's really zine-y to me, and it goes with the artwork so well. I love how this is just like some recipes and reading with gorgeous illustrations. So beautiful work. But yeah, just one color. Didn't need to be like fully colored, but the blue is such a nice choice for that. So you can jazz up your black and white by changing it to a colored line art. Of course, that's more expensive to print, but in this case, I believe it was this kind of cyanotype where everything you print comes out blue. So that's worth checking out. This one is by Natalie Andrewson, who I really, really love her work. And it's just like a little collection of her illustrations. And they all have like different quotes with them, like things you might expect them to say, or that you might hear them say. And it gives such an insight to their personality, and you can imagine like a whole world for them. So I love looking at this. It's, I think, risograph printed because Natalie Andrewson really likes risograph, and if you want to get into that, then there's a lot of resources. I still haven't gotten into risograph, so I can't tell you anything about it really, other than it's like screen printing and a copier mashed together. So super cool. But yeah, this is probably also risograph, but I'm not sure. This one is more of our like almost punk aesthetic. I love how it's stitched, and it looks like it's stitched with a machine along the edges. And it must be a really heavy duty needle because this is a lot of stuff. They even included, I don't know if I'm allowed to show nipples, but they even included this great cloth like cutout thing that you can include, and there's just so much stuff they've collaged in, or on the computer most likely, photographs, and put together this whole magazine looking recipe part, and it's very thought out the way that the layouts are done. I love these big page numbers on top of everything. That's fantastic. They've got like just so much stuff going on in here. That's all to share like DIY punk knowledge with you. Like you can, sorry if it's not in focus, you can do it yourself. You don't have to depend on consumerism, basically. So this is great. I love this kind of style too. I'm just going to say they're all great. I guess that's what I'm saying. But yeah, I shouldn't spend too much time showing you every single one of these zines, but I love them, so I want to. This is by Franerd, or Fran Meneses, who you may know, a famous online YouTube illustrator. She's fantastic. This is hers about turning 30 and figuring out what that means for her. So very cool. This one's just a little medieval bestiary, and they just drew different medieval beasts, and that's the whole zine. Very cool. This one was to promote a game that they made that was like a bug dating game, which is it's a lot cuter than you would think. I love all their little sketches they included, and some comics here and there, and like a little bit about the characters. This one is by Jen Tong, I believe. And yeah, hers are all also like just, it looks like maybe they were done in color or in just pencil or something, but then, or even screen printed. She does a lot of incredible screen printing. But then it was reproduced in just black and white, but again, with this fun colored ink. So very cool. This one is by Kevin J Stanton. I also love his work. This is so neat. He even only made 100 copies, and I got number 41. He hand put that part in and signed it, so that's awesome. And then these are just like cool textures, like an artist's sketchbook almost. Different landscape textures. This is a very funny little like zine that I picked up at Comic Arts Brooklyn, and it's all these little caricatures of like Bushwick and just like Brooklyn millennial stuff in general. I love this like clever approach that they take to this. This one is kind of similar to Hazel in that like it's a bunch of little DIYs and it's really a comic, but it's very funny. It's much more like humorous in its approach than Hazel is. So yeah, but very witchy and fun. This is just a fan tribute to guys in glasses, and they have different characters from different series that they really enjoy who wear glasses. And this is by Team KK, Kat and Kendra again. And yeah, fantastic. This one is only like 4 pages long. It's literally just these illustrations and that's it. And it's just hip people with like cell phones and hip stuff. But this was a companion zine for the Girls Room Gallery show and it's so much fun. It's also like very punk in its approach, but like, and very like Riot Girl, but also kind of Rookie Mag. Love it. Okay, this is cool because this is by someone on Sumaya, someone on Instagram. Her username is like Fleur Honor. I love that she used this like leafy paper where it actually has bits of leaves and stuff in there. This rice paper to make a little envelope for her fairy zine. This little fairy journal. I love that. And then has just like some writing and some illustrations. There's a picture of her at the end. And then in the end, the fun thing about like zines and small press is you can do stuff like this. You can just like make a little fairy wing and tape it in. You can put stickers in there. You can make a pocket that has like a bunch more pieces of paper. The possibilities are endless. And then there's also this adorable zine that's like from an imaginary zoo. And they've got like a little map for the zoo and all these features on different like characters that live at the zoo. I love like the way that it really looks like that type of catalog, or yeah, that type of magazine that you would get just for free from a local institution like that. So yeah, fun little newsletter updates and like I love how these are all supposed to be photographs, but then at the end they have fan art and it's actual photographs. So yeah, it really twists, you know, some of your expectations in a really, really fun and playful way. So let's get started on trying to look at ways to make our own. The way that I make Hazel usually is by doing the artwork all completely separately. I might have my watercolor paper back there, and then I will just have like a bunch of little illustrations individually like this. I would probably not cut them out the way that I did for this one. I just had some extra paper for this, but I would take these all, scan them, and then edit them in the computer, make sure that there aren't any stray marks, and then put them into a document, which you can do in Photoshop, you can do in any kind of image editing software, but Indesign is what I use, and it is probably the best thing to use for that. There used to be a program called PageMaker as well that would help you lay out books, but I don't think it exists anymore, or at least not like an up-to-date version. So I'm going to show you my screen and show you like kind of what Hazel looks like in there. And that's like the fancy way, I suppose. That is the very produced way, where if you are going to take it to a printer, then that's what you want to do. You want to have that all packaged up for them. You can do it in Photoshop in a photo editing program or any kind of image software as well. But this is just so much easier. It's like built-in tools. Illustrator, I guess, will also be an option for that. And I can show you kind of like what your page layouts should look like, whether it's in InDesign or Photoshop. You can use the same techniques. It's just like more tools specifically for printing in InDesign. The layout technique is very, very similar. So I'll show you that, and then I will show you a couple of by hand techniques. Okay, so here is InDesign. We've got our file here. Well, this is the cover. We've got all of our pages in this 88 page long little preview window here. And you can see a little preview here of how I've laid out the cover and the interior cover, and then the first page, and everything after that is pretty straightforward. Yeah, this is some of issue 5 of Hazel, and this is kind of how I set it up. This is preview mode, so I find it's super helpful for getting an idea of how stuff looks. You can still mess with things, but you can have a better idea of what the final thing is going to look like than when you see all these boxes around everything. So you can see that the pages are exactly in the order that they will be in the book. And when I go to either package the file, which will give me a compressed folder with everything, including fonts, the images, the whole InDesign file, everything anyone could possibly need to look at the InDesign file exactly the way that I'm seeing it, and print it out or edit it or whatever they need to do. That's what package is for, and that's what I usually send to the printer, because I have had issues with sending PDFs in the past, but certainly PDFs work just fine. You can also hit export, and as you're about to see, it will give us some options for how we want to set up our file. So a high quality print is a very good preset to use. There's press quality as well. Smallest file size is what I will use to just like quickly shoot something off so people can take a quick look at it and make any edits that they need to. But when it comes to sending it to the printer, you're going to want a high quality or press quality file. You can also just select a few of them to put in your PDF, or decide if you want individual pages or whole spreads. And then there is a slew of other possibilities for setting up your file, and then you just hit export. And I am not going to do that right now because I already have what I want, but I'll show you what this usually looks like in normal mode. So you can see there are all these different crop lines around it, bleed lines. This is the bleed at the very edge, and then there's the crop line in black. So that should be the edge of our page theoretically. The bleed is just to make sure that if they cut it in the wrong spot, then you don't get like white showing up. You still have this extra artwork extending past the borders. And then there's the safe area inside this last border. So yeah, that's pretty much how all these pages are going to look. I've got my text boxes, I've got some guidelines to make sure things line up properly. And then, yeah, it's a lot to look at like this, but you can make sure everything is the way that it's supposed to be. So yeah, InDesign, super helpful, but also Photoshop and Illustrator can get this done. It's just going to be not all in one place the way that it is here, unless you use boards in Illustrator. So let's look at some options for setting this up physically as well. Okay, so now that we've looked at that, I want to show you how I do this by hand. So let me get out my piece of paper. So this is one that I've kind of pre-labeled as far as a I'm sorry for the tea stains and watercolor stains over here. This is one I've already labeled that is ready to go because I used this for a class earlier, but basically you're going to want one piece of paper for this option. And this is one of my favorite ways of making zines and mini comics, but you can also use a bigger piece of paper and use the same technique and then have a bigger finished product. So we're taking this piece of paper and we're turning it into something like this. So this is kind of the result. It's very small, as you can see. I'll show you here as well. It's very small, so if you used a bigger piece of paper, you could fit a lot more into here. I recommend 11 by 17, which is also called tabloid size, and that folds down to probably like this size. Okay, so what we're going to do essentially is divide the paper into these 8 sections and then fold it, or we'll fold it to get to that, either way, and then cut down the middle, but only between here and here. If this got cut, obviously it'll come apart. We don't want that, unless you staple your comic together. That's an option too. But this is no staples required, nothing fancy required, just one piece of paper, a pair of scissors, or an X-Acto blade, and you're good. So what's going to happen is we will take this paper and fold it and then squeeze these together. And this is something that people really struggle with. So I'm going to show it from another angle, and I'll show it from the beginning as well. So let's see. We're going to fold this in half this way, and then push these sides together, and then there we go, and just like close that up. So, okay, that seems maybe easy enough for some of you, maybe like what did you just do for some of you guys. So I'm going to show you from the start how to put this together. So, but in the end, when you fold it up, this will be your page 1, just basically wherever is easiest to close the book is what'll work for you, and you'll go ahead and label all the numbers, and that's how you know where your covers are and where your interior pages are and what order they come in. So, all right, let's get started. This is my scrap paper I'm using, but of course pick whatever paper works best for you. You might want to do some practice runs on some scrap paper. Basically, what we will start with is taking this and folding it in half horizontally, I guess. It's like we're going to fold it in half both ways, so don't worry about that. But this is, I guess, what the elementary school art teachers would call hot dog style. And try to get it as precise as possible to get this to line up as precisely as possible. Oops. Well, I've already folded it, so it's too late. But yeah, we really want to get a perfect fold so that it's easy for this to come together later on. All right, now we're going to unfold it, and now you have a crease and you know where your middle is. So now we're going to do it the other way, as the elementary school art teachers call Hamburger style. We're going to fold it to make more of this like portrait orientation here, like so. And now we have a crease in the very middle. So there's your middle point. You've got 4 quadrants right now, and we need to make 8. So that means dividing this line and this line. So we're going to flip this over and take each side and fold it to the middle so that they are folded perfectly in half. And we know where the middle is because that's where our crease is there. So here we go. And there's the other side. We're going to meet it right in the middle. All right, so that is our division of 8 sections. So Now that we have our 8 sections, we kind of know where our pages are going to be. It's starting to make sense to us. And the next thing we have to do is go ahead and take this and fold it in half, portrait style again. So you have a piece of paper that looks like this. And we are going to cut from here to here. Another great option is just laying this flat and putting down some cardboard or a self-healing mat and taking a ruler and just like using an X-Acto knife. And then you're absolutely sure that you're getting it right where you want it to be. But with the scissors, you can do a pretty good job if you're sure that you got a nice fold here. So you can always start by doing it this way if you want and then unfold it. But either way, we're going to cut right along that line and then stop right at that fold right there. So now when we unfold it, this is what it looks like. We have a little mouth in the middle, and now is that tricky part of the fold again that I find people, it really takes some getting used to do this. So I'm going to take both sides and I'm going to fold the top towards the bottom, but away from me, not towards me, away from me. And I'm also at the same time going to push, or afterwards, whichever, whichever is easier for you guys. It doesn't matter the order of folding. We're going to take the ends and push them together. So we're starting to get this like diamond shape that is showing up. If you're doing it on the page, on the tabletop, it's going to look more like this. But we're starting to get like a diamond shape happening. So now, when we push them towards the middle, we get this T or X shape, and we want to just make it easier for the fold to happen. And just kind of feel like where is easier for this, because we want to close it up like a book. So I'm feeling like this would be the easiest, maybe. Maybe not. Let's try this way. Oops. So I'm going to lay it flat like this because I'm finding that's going to be easiest for me. And then we're just going to close up that book. So yeah, we had it as this, and we're just closing it like this. And yeah, I needed to fold and like get the creases a little bit better to get mine to close up, and that's what you might have to do too. So there we go. And it's a little messy. I probably didn't get my folds exactly the way that I wanted them to be. But yeah, that is our book. Now you have it. And now you can either like collage things on or draw things on like this, or you can take this and number your pages. So this is the first one. That's my cover. 2, 3, and this is the key, is making sure that you're numbering them all in the same place in the same way, because when we unfold it, as you may have seen before, then some of these pages are upside down. So 1, 2, 3, and 8 are all facing that way, away from me. But 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all facing towards me. So if I wanted to make a bunch of these, just like go ahead and do all this artwork, or I had the artwork and I'm pasting it into place, and I want to know where my cover is so I can paste my cover artwork there, then I need to label them. So now I have them labeled, and now I can go ahead and start adding in all the artwork or poetry or whatever kind of thing that you want to put in here. And then when you're done, this is the great part, is all you need to do is take this and photocopy it like however many times you want, however many friends you want to give this to, or like places you want to pass it out, then you just photocopy this whole thing, and then you assemble them by doing the exact same thing. You cut down the middle, you fold it up, and then they're ready to go. That is the most assembly you need to do, and it's just so fast and easy. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it. If it's black and white copies, you're spending like cents putting these together. If it's color, a little bit more, but still it's one full color page. It's not that much. On the other side too, you have the option of printing something there, so that people could, if they wanted to, they could unfold your book and be surprised by a reveal on the inside. So that's another possibility. I want to show you, for example, this is a mini comic and not a zine, but well, I guess it's kind of both. This is my Animal Forest, slightly water damaged Animal Crossing comic, and you can see how I just used the whole page on each one as a full panel, and I didn't put anything on the inside, but just so you can see how it translates, this is what my page looks like. So I just went to FedEx Kinko's and got a bunch of these copied, and then went home and trimmed the edges and then put it together. And you know, it only cost me however much for the copies, and then my time for putting it all together. So that is one option. And then you'll surely be interested in how you can also do some saddle stitched or some stapled saddle stitched options. Artist Tongue in Cheek Press. Paul Keen, he put together this great little zine that is about how much he cares about bookbinding, essentially. He has saddle stitched the edge of this and printed out this on like really nice textural paper, and the interior is just regular printer paper, but this is his kind of zine manifesto about how staples are non-archival. They will rust over time and damage your books, but sewing is handsome and archival, and says, I care enough about my work to give it this lovely, long-lasting binding. So, you know, he obviously has his opinions about how you should do it, and some people really like the ephemeral and like trashable nature of zines, but I also like being able to keep things for a long time, so I don't know. So he is showing you kind of how to use stitches to put together your zine the way that he has, but the important thing is that we look at how the pages go together. So the thing is, when you take a bunch of pieces of paper and you staple them together, it's not as simple as page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4 when you're printing them. So how do you know what page is supposed to be which? Okay, so I have 2 pieces of scrap paper here, and I want to make an 8-page zine like the one that we looked at, hit people with cell phones and stuff. So I need to take these 2 pieces of paper and staple them together. But when I do that, I want to make sure that the pages come in the right order, of course. That's what this is all about. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold these to make like a dummy book. And that, I guess, is ultimately what I'm recommending, is that you make a dummy book, or you do the math by drawing it out and figure out how this goes together. So let's say this is the cover, and this is the next page, and this is the next page. If I take these apart, I can't just print like cover, next page, next page, next page, or whichever way. I can't just print them across like that and get the right order. This is hard to show that because it is nothing, but we'll look at that in a second. So what you would do is have the amount of pages that you want in your zine, and you put them together. You make this little dummy book out of just scrap paper, and then you need to do the same thing as with this, where the pages are not where you expect them to be. You need to order them. So one, we've got our numbered pages. Now, when we open this up and we're like, okay, I want to assemble these on a page for printing so that I can just cut and fold and staple, we can take these out and see what the order looks like. So I want to try to fit this on my screen for you guys. Cover up my watercolor stains while I'm at it. So here's one side of the paper. 2, 7, 4, and 5. 2 and 7 obviously are not supposed to be facing, and yet they are on facing pieces of the paper. That's kind of what I've been trying to get at by talking about this. So now you know how they're going to need to be arranged on the page, so you can make sure that everything prints out correctly. I've had a few mishaps with getting the order wrong for those things, and the best way to make sure that you have the right order of pages is to make a dummy book like this. So now when we flip it over too, we know that it should go 8, 1, 6, 3. Again, weird order. How would you know that without putting this together? This is going to be a pretty fast and easy technique. So this could be just 1.5 by 11 piece of paper that has 8 whole pages of a zine on it. And all you'd have to do is like arrange your pages correctly, print it out, trim it, cut it, put it all together. And there you go. That is how you get your facing pages. So 1, 2, 3, exactly as we wanted it. And so, yeah, this is like, you might be able to tell from how I'm struggling to explain this, that this is very, very tricky for me. And so explaining it is even trickier. And this is why I tend to let professionals print my stuff for me. But you should not let that stop you. And I don't all the time. I have printed my own stuff plenty of times, usually with mini comics and not specifically with zines, but same difference. It's small press. It's stuff that you make and you distribute yourself. So I want you guys to have a lot of fun with what you put together with this. And yeah, the potential is limitless. Oh, and so what do you do if you don't have a needle and thread and an awl to punch the holes in this, and you just want to use a stapler, or you don't have time for that? Long arm stapler is one very good friend. These unfortunately cost a stupid amount of money. I think this is like minimum $30 for a stapler, but that is going to be very helpful for us right in this moment, because now if it's not jammed, I can go ahead and line this up and just staple it here. And you want to kind of make it even, unless you're going for something uneven. That's basically on the line. That's not bad. You do often have to like pull out the staples and like really practice making sure it lines up right. But that went pretty well. And then I can fit all kinds of sizes of stuff into there. But if you don't have a long arm stapler, you can also take a regular stapler a lot of the times. Mine, unfortunately, does not do this, but you can open it up and take a self-healing mat or a rubber eraser or a piece of cardboard and lie your zine against it, and then take the stapler and press down. Then you'll have to like pull this off of whatever surface you had it on, get the staples out, and then bend them in. Yeah, that wasn't so perfect after all. But yeah, just bend them in by hand. It can be kind of painful to use your fingers to do that, so you might want to like use a pen to bend them in, or something, even needle nose pliers. That's one option. The other option is to do that using like, yeah, just without opening up the stapler if possible. Like if you can fit your stuff under there and an eraser, then that can be a cushion that the staple will go in so that it doesn't bend them down for you. The staples will still be sticking up like straight out of the book. So yeah, that there are tons and tons of ways that you can put together zines, and I highly recommend you look into bookbinding because it's super, super fun. Even that accordion fold that we looked at, that requires like no staples. I mean, they put that on there, but you can do just like a simple accordion book. You can even print on both sides of the paper. I have some things like that, and I wish that I had prepared them so that you guys could look at those, but it's just like so many super cool options. You can screen print your book, you can stamp your book, you can paint it all by hand. Like it's yeah, the possibilities are endless. I'm going to say that over and over for zines because that's what I really, really enjoy. And why make a zine? Why talk about zines? Because zines are your vehicle for putting whatever you love, whatever you feel, whatever's important to you out there into the world and sharing that with other people. And I think that's like a big way that us geek girls connect with each other. It's a big way that we can learn new things from each other, and just the joy of like swapping zines and checking out what other people have made is what brings me back to zines again and again. I love that like you don't have to have the confidence or like the, stick-to-itiveness to talk to a publisher and say like, this is worth publishing. You can decide yourself that it's worth publishing in a small way or in a big way, however you choose to do it, and like just doing it. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you permission. So that's what I have to say about zines. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that I helped explain some things instead of just making things really confusing. I really appreciate all y'all coming to watch this, and let me know if you enjoyed it. Shout me out on Twitter or Instagram. Show me your zines, like tag me in what you make, and I'd love to come take a look at it. I'm Cotton Book on Instagram and Lucy Kagan on Twitter, and so yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. These are a couple of the past Hazel issues. This is 3 and 4. The only one I don't have on hand is 2. It's like back there somewhere, but and then this is the newest issue. So if you guys want to look at just a ton of amazing work of magical people putting together a witchy zine, then I can't recommend this enough. I know that I made it, but like I didn't make it alone. These contributors were just so fantastic, and everybody is really, really excited. Like everyone on the team who contributed to this is like, this is our best year yet. We are so excited to have this book. So yeah, go out there and make your own zines. Send them to me. I would love to take a look, and have a great day. Enjoy GGC. All right. Bye.